Live in a minute. There we go. We are live, hopefully.
Hopefully we are.
So, it looks like we are. So, welcome to this week's amalgamated podcast. So, as you can all see, the boss is here. So, I need to behave, apparently, which is obviously something that I do struggle with at times. So, we're going to kind of amalgamate the Chen Q&A with the normal weekly Chen podcast. As we thought, since we're doing two things, basically it's two lots of timing from our perspective. It means you guys obviously have to find two time slots in your schedule too. So we figured if we amalgamate things together, it makes it easier for us and hopefully makes it easier for other people, which should be good. So we're just going to wait for a few people to get logged in. Obviously the comments are open. So you can talk to us, ask questions in the comments as usual. For those of you that are picking this up in kind of catch-up mode, then the date today is the 6th of December. I always like to give the date because it kind of makes it real. Proves that we're not AI kind of figures that are just talking, although sometimes it does feel like we might be, really. But hopefully we're real constructs of this particular matrix, and we're broadcasting live from my room that Jayne's commandeered with a chair. They were sat very close together.
Visitor tonight, haven't you?
Yes, and the door's open because it gets hot in here.
Yes. Well, once Chen comes in, it's boiling.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if you can introduce yourself in the comments, then we can. We always like to know where people are from, where you live, what you're doing, what's going on in your life. Obviously, we talk about ourselves, but we're interested in you as much as you're probably interested in us. Hopefully. Could
you let us know also that the sound's okay?
Sound check.
Please. Since I'm up here, I'm not downstairs.
We've only got Jayne downstairs.
I'm not Jayne downstairs.
Do a sound check. Yeah, exactly.
So if somebody could just comment at some point and just let us know that you can actually hear us, and we're not just.
We could try doing that and see if anyone notices. So this week, so what we're going to talk about this week. So I had a radio interview with a guy called Jerry Marzinsky last night, which was really, really interesting. And I think basically I was going to talk about, well, that interview in terms of the things that we talked about together. Obviously, our path and his kind of does intersect, although we come from very different places. So we're going to go over that, talk about that side of things. And then we're going to get Chen to come in terms of the Q&A aspect, really. Jayne's got a list of questions somewhere.
Yeah, I've got a few. I've printed off a few. Not all the questions that we had, but I've got a few. Yes. I do believe there's none from.
None from?
Our Australian friend. My name's escaping me.
Rhonda.
Rhonda
Cooper.
No. Anyway sorry.
Brain freeze.
Yeah, brain freeze.
That's what happens.
This is what happens when I go live.
Happens to us all. Don't worry about
Catherine.
that. Catherine.
Yes.
Elaine's come back, said sound is good. So thank you, Elaine.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Sound check.
Thanks very much.
So in that case, we'll continue to talk. Now that we know you can hear us.
I'll try not to have brain freeze.
It does happen, really. So that is our plan for this evening. So basically, just going kind of back to that. So most of you are kind of aware, or certainly people that follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, of course, as well now, and YouTube is our kind of main social media platforms that we kind of work with, really. Yeah. Most of our work has always been in the area of kind of spiritual protection. And obviously, this is something that's quite dear to us both. Both of us, when we kind of met, had a very, very rocky path, to say the least, really, around the lines of not being spiritual, finding ourselves on a spiritual path together when we just met, effectively. And then the signs of madness really came in when we started. Well, I primarily started to hear voices, see things, negative things, demonic things, things that we don't really expect to see, riding on the backs of people. So it was a really interesting kind of experience, really, from my perspective. So I'd kind of gone from a kind of normal IT job, working as a kind of IT architect, very black and white. There was no kind of grey areas for me, really. Jayne and I met, our path kind of intersected, and then we both kind of got pushed onto our spiritual path. So
pretty hard push.
And everything fell apart, basically. My life fell apart, and so did Jayne's.
Divine, yeah.
As most of you that are watching will be nodding and thinking, yep, this is what happens. It seems to be what happens to most people.
Yeah.
So part of our journey, really, or certainly part of my journey primarily, was to see the kind of invisible, unseen negative side and how that kind of interacts with people, and how it kind of how those kind of negative thoughts whisper into people encourage people to do negative things, really, and obviously behave in negative ways. So I've got kind of first-hand view on how these unseen negative entities that kind of are working from a paranormal perspective from most people's viewpoint, really, are kind of manipulating people's consciousness, manipulating people's awareness, changing the things that you see, changing the things that you understand. And for me, that was probably 2 years of misery, really, I guess, of kind of living that every day. So hearing things, seeing things, being kind of unaware as to how to deal with it. Didn't really understand anything about spiritual protection. Neither did you at the time, really. So we were very sort of new to the spiritual arena, and there was not really that much help. There were books around about spiritual protection, psychic protection, those sorts of things. They didn't really explain it, I didn't think, particularly well or particularly easily to a novice. If you've been in the spiritual arena for quite some time, obviously we understand how to do these things and what works and what doesn't. But when you're new to this and you start to have some of these negative experiences, of course, you're thinking about burning sage. Burning sage doesn't keep negative entities out of your bedroom at 3 a.m, basically. At kind of least effectively, and neither does most other things. So again, you start to learn quite quickly when you're having the experience what kind of works and what doesn't. So coming back to the interview that I had last night with Jerry, Laura Wilson, who's one of our good friends that we've been speaking to for years, and she's very kind of aligned with us. We're very aligned with her work as well. So we kind of collaborate between ourselves quite well on a kind of monthly basis, really. Yeah. We're always talking to Laura, yes. Basically. So she kind of mentioned that she'd crossed paths with Jerry Marzinsky at some point. So Jerry basically is a very kind of interesting guy, because obviously we're coming at things from a spiritual perspective, spiritual path. Obviously we're both mediums, we can talk to guides, so we're kind of in that space. Jerry's the opposite of all of those things, really. He's more like Dr. Terence Palmer that I was working with for 10 years. So Jerry is a kind of psychologist, psychiatrist. He'd been working in some of the big psychiatry institutions in America on the kind of boots on the ground space, really. Some of those places have like 10,000 inmates. So these are kind of really, really big institutions, beyond the way that we would probably be able to understand them, I guess, to that degree. He also then worked in prisons with kind of hardcore prisoners that obviously done some very bad things. And he was interested to kind of do a deep dive into the mental health of these people. Why do people do the bad things, the negative things they do? And he was really interested to work with schizophrenics. So he spent a long time working on the kind of the front line, really, with schizophrenics to ask them about the voices they were hearing, what those voices were saying. And he wanted to find the origins of schizophrenia. And of course, this aligns with us. So myself and Terry were in the same space. When I met Terry, we were working with schizophrenics on a quite regular basis, removing and detaching negative entities from them, which would then stop the voices. So we already kind of knew that schizophrenia, for some people, not for everyone, had a spiritual source. And that spiritual source was negative entities, attachments. And obviously Terry was in the same place. He wanted to basically prove that spiritual possession of the old way was spiritual possession. So people that had attachments, especially entities that were possessing them, causing the voices, the negative thoughts, and encouraging them to do bad things. So obviously Jerry is effectively the same person, really, on the same path as Dr. Palmer. So we had a really interesting chat. We kind of covered how the kind of current mental health system understands hearing voices and schizophrenia as auditory voice hallucination. So AVH is what they tend to call it. And the mental health area and psychiatry, their understanding is it's a chemical or mental imbalance that causes the voices. So they think the voices are internal to the person, and the person creates them themselves. Hence, it's an auditory voice hallucination, which of course we don't agree with. From our perspective, it's an external voice that's coming in from an attachment, whether that be a discarnate spirit or an entity, a negative entity. So that's our version of events. That's what we work with every day, is what Chen talks about every day. And obviously Jerry came to the same conclusion. So he started off in psychiatry. He's got an awful lot of letters after his name that lost me, really.
I don't know what they mean either, do we?
But he's very, very well educated on that understanding. And of course, he came from the background of psychiatry. So for him, it was quite a big step change and a kind of direction change to understand and come to the understanding that these voices that people hear, schizophrenics, people that are having internal negative thoughts, intrusive thoughts, people that are suicidal, self-harming, are coming from an external source. So we kind of cover that at length, really, around his experience, what kind of pushed him along that path for most of his career. And of course, for quite a lot of his career, he was being kind of held back from his research and his understanding by the current mental health system, because of course it's a drug-centered, profit-driven mental health system, basically, and there's an awful lot of money made from people that have those problems. So that's why he was kind of caught in that place. But since he's retired, obviously he's been able to come out and give his definition of his life's work, the understanding that he's had, the experience that he's had working with some of the hardcore schizophrenics and people in prisons that have done some terrible things, all of which say they were driven to do those things by these voices that they believe to be external. So it was a really kind of fascinating interview. It's currently on our YouTube channel, so we uploaded that this morning. So if you guys are interested to hop over after this chat.
Watched it.
Someone's watched it. I couldn't read that from
Who's
here.
Ambassador of Light?
That might be Gareth, possibly.
Oh.
I think. Okay, so if that is Gareth, it is your world, Gareth.
Sorry, Gareth. That is you.
Gareth. I know. Well, I can never remember. There's so many different aliases and people using different names that obviously don't really relate to them. But I think it might be Gareth. And if Gareth is on my path, Gareth is seeing negative entities, having to engage with them and try and keep them at bay. So it's quite a difficult path to start with until you kind of get used to that, really. But that chat with Jerry will be really, really interesting if you're having these sorts of things, or if you know people that are hearing voices, people that are having intrusive thoughts, people that are self-harming, schizophrenics, people that are suicidal. In our view of the world, all of those people have attachments that are negative, that are driving that behavior. And there's a whole kind of conversation around why that happens, generally from substance abuse that kind of breaks down the etheric field, which normally comes from some type of trauma, other catalyst, effectively, which again is a kind of different conversation that we're not really here to kind of cover that effectively. But obviously part of the chat that I was having with Terry really is that we both agreed that these external parasitic entities are a big problem for us in society. They're a big problem for most families and most people on the planet. And when we understand the way that they work and what they do, then we can start to take protective, precautionary measures by using simple meditations and spiritual protection practices to protect our energy. And of course, this is what we also teach. So we've got courses, generally 6 weeks long, that we teach psychic and spiritual protection to people that are struggling. And of course, there are a lot more people realizing they need to learn how to protect their energy field from not just these negative entities, from their wives, from their husbands, from their families, from anyone that you come into contact with. Your field is obviously going to be kind of connected to other people's, and therefore learning to protect yourself is obviously a good thing to do, really, from that perspective.
Yeah, next course is 6th of January for 6
January
weeks.
6th.
Yeah.
So yeah,
just putting out a mass email.
So if you're interested to join us, basically on that, well, join me. Jayne hasn't made an appearance yet on that course.
I suffer with stage fright. I don't know if you knew.
Well, you don't. You're here today.
Well, I'm trying to get over it.
So the idea, well, maybe I'll drag you into that course then on the 6th. But yeah, the idea is that if you're interested, then of course you can see what we do, how we do things, and generally I've got a lot of fun. It's sort of designed to be a fun journey, but of course it is a self-development path, and we do consider ourselves to be very, very good in the area of spiritual and psychic protection, generally because of our own background and path.
Had to learn, didn't we? Had to learn pretty quick.
Yeah. And I think when you're on this path, if you've got someone that can kind of point you in the right direction, then it's so much
absolutely
more helpful than basically kind of swimming against the current for most of the time, which is kind of,
it would have been very difficult, wouldn't it, if we didn't have Brian and Christina.
Yeah, definitely.
Turn to.
Yeah.
So everybody needs somebody. When you start down this path, there's generally a reason why you are on the path. And
of course, generally someone appears on your path at the right time to kind of guide you and work with you. And that's what our spirit guides are sort of here to do, really. On the concept, if you go along with the concept, we've all got spirit guides. Their job is to find these timelines and intersect us with the right people at the right time in our life. And then we kind of step change, move on to a different path, do different things. That's certainly how we met, really, which was the way that we met. There was no way we could have met without some sort of spiritual kind of guidance to arrange things, because obviously we lived a long way away from each other geographically. So spirit has, its ways of doing things and connecting to people. And the more we understand that, of course, the easier our life becomes. So Jerry and I talked about a lot of other things: trauma, drug use, Ouija boards, opening people to spiritual interference. Kind of shared a lot of concerns about psychiatry's resistance, really, to acknowledge these causes. And that was one of the main topics, really, for the conversation from my perspective, is how do we get this information that probably many of you guys understand and know into the general public? Because when people are having horrendous experiences, that are hearing voices, schizophrenic, self-harming, suicidal, they need help, and they need to be signposted to people that understand what they're going through. And I think currently psychiatry offering is obviously medically based, and it doesn't resolve the problems in most cases. Some cases it may well do, but this is what Jerry was here to do yesterday. He comes from that background. He spent his life working in psychiatry. So literally from the horse's mouth, his opinion is the current mental health system is really broken, and it's not really serving people in the way that it should. And we need to find ways to help people, which of course we effectively do. So I think from Jerry's perspective, he has a protocol called MACE that he talked about on that podcast that he uses. And he explained it to me in a way that was quite interesting, actually. He was saying that he believes that these negative energies are attached to people, and they drain them of energy, fatigue them, obviously manipulate the thought process, that type of thing. But his method basically drains them of their energy. So these entities, whilst they're feeding off people, they're being drained with Jerry's method, because he finds the trauma and the pain that obviously that person's been through. And when they then resolve the trauma and the pain with his particular approach, that drains the kind of energetic mechanism for these entities to stay attached. So he was saying quite often people still hear voices, but not quite as loudly. And this is where we come in. So what we came to the conclusion was at the end of that particular interview is that if we join our method to his method, he can perform his MACE approach and basically clear the trauma. And then we can follow up and clear the entities and the attachments. And that should then leave the patient, person, client in a much better place with no voices. Trauma's being cleared, energy's being cleared, vibration has obviously risen. So we agreed that we're going to start to work together, basically, and collaborate on that particular method as a kind of research project, which for me was really exciting, because it kind of takes me back to the days that Terry first kind of contacted us and said, I'm really interested to prove that spirit possession is still a thing, and it's a huge thing in the population, and it causes these terrible problems. So I think connecting to Jerry from my perspective was very, very exciting, and we'll obviously see where that goes. And we wanted just to kind of bring that up in this podcast.
Diane Brody's asking if you can put the link in the comments, which...
Oh yeah, we can do that. Let me find...
Hi Mary. And Vanessa. Michelle, everybody that's saying hello.
Of course, I can't see them. Okay, so just give me a moment whilst we
navigate the...
find the content and the link.
Yes.
So get shareable link. There we go. So we should be able to pop this. So assuming that works, that link should pop up from myself. There we go. So that's the YouTube link to the interview. And again, it should be quite fascinating, I think, for everyone. Jerry and I were both quite, we had a conversation before and after the bit that was recorded. So we've kind of looking forward as to how we kind of join, work together, collaborate, and obviously the things that we can do. He's written a couple of books on the subject, and he's working with quite a lot of instrumental people. And of course, from our perspective, it aligns exactly with where we are really with our work. And obviously Chen is or was very happy to have these sorts of connections coming forward, which is good.
Did Chen know Jerry?
He didn't say he did.
Okay, I'll ask him in a minute.
Chen knows everybody.
I'll ask him.
I'm sure, really. Yeah. Okay, so I think that kind of covers yesterday's interview. Obviously, if you're interested, hop over to YouTube. The link's in the comments. You can obviously watch that at your leisure, listen to it. There's not much to see. Obviously, just me talking to Jerry. Although, in fact, Jerry did most of the talking, actually. So Jerry talking to me, really. But it's very interesting. And I think the central themes that we kind of covered is the over-reliance on medication, lack of objective testing we was talking about, the fear and misunderstanding, really, of patients that are hearing voices, the financial incentives that prevent change, I guess, primarily. And then, again, from our perspective, voices are kind of parasitic entities, not voice hallucinations. Entities tend to drain energy, promote isolation, negativity, self-destructive ideas. These are Jerry's kind of topics, really. Trauma and drugs weaken the energetic boundaries, which we see too. False agreements can be made with deceptive entities, because quite often entities, when they present themselves to people that are on drugs or having a hallucinogenic experience or taking LSD, amphetamine, that type of thing, they present as some deity like Jesus Christ or Mary Magdalene or one of the other million deities that someone has. And of course, they ask for permission to connect to the person. And when you give your permission away, that is the point, of course, that these entities can really connect to you and start to drain your energy and obviously manipulate your experience, basically. So some other things that Jerry noticed in his observations working with clients is voices are always louder at night and early morning, 3 to 4 o'clock in the morning, which we kind of call witching hour, because that used to be the miserable time for us, really,
Yes.
for quite a long time, years and years, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Well, occasionally it still is, not very often
Not
now.
very often, and now they get dispatched very fast.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
it used to be problematic. People's energy would collapse after entity attacks. So Jerry sort of noticed that when entities attack people, psychically attack them, that person's energy drops dramatically. It takes them days to recover. They feel fatigued and totally kind of energetically depleted, really. He noticed that persistent anti-religious and negative messages comes from these entities, so they're very anti-religion. And patients often recover when taught to resist these entities when they're removed, which of course we obviously see ourselves too. So I think combining these two approaches,
I was just wondering, in your chat with him last night, does he, once he's worked with a patient, does he then encourage them to do any protection or that sort of thing?
Yeah,
or?
I think part of his MACE thing is all wrapped around finding the trauma, finding the pain, finding the area that actually has the negative energy, if you like, that the entities are attaching to, and promoting that trauma.
Yeah.
And then obviously he works through the aftercare side, which we don't really do that particularly.
Well, we give a list of things that our clients have to do, don't we? Afterwards, try and stay sovereign. No one know.
Which is the problem.
Bang on about it, though, don't we?
Which is the problem, of course. So again, a spiritual. I think Terry used to call us the kind of, the spiritual paramedics, that we kind of would come in at the scene of an accident, would pick someone up off the floor, would kind of patch them up, keep them alive, pop them in the ambulance, and then drop them off at the hospital. And that was kind of Terry's view of what we did. Of course, dropping at the hospital is where we're at aftercare. So who takes on that aftercare? What sort of therapy do those people need? Because they generally do need some. And I don't think there are many people offering those services currently, really. And I guess it is a gap in the way that we work, is that trying to find people that offer aftercare and have a service, that people can use and people can align with, is actually quite difficult, because most of these people are highly traumatized, obviously coming from very difficult experiences. So even when they're energetically cleared and the voices are gone, it's not the magic bullet. They still have all the problems they had before, just that they now have what we tend to call the window of opportunity to kind of work with and think about things from a kind of clearer perspective.
Yeah, which in turn helps them stay sovereign, isn't it then?
Yeah. So I think really
it's much easier to live your life when you're sovereign.
Well, this is why we talk about sovereignty all the time, because if you don't have spiritual sovereignty, you're not of your own energy, and therefore your energy is being manipulated by something else generally, and that something else is not positive, obviously. So that's why we talk about sovereignty on a daily basis, and it's why we check ourselves on a daily basis, clear ourselves, and obviously maintain our own family as much as we can in a sovereign space, because it is a daily ritual. It's kind of not a one-off, do it, forget about it. You need to be doing it every day, really.
Yes.
Okay, so there's questions there.
Deb Graham, sending much love from a very hot Australia. Gosh.
Lovely.
Yeah, looking out the window.
Looking out the window,
it's dark, but
dark, wet and rainy over here.
Oh, very, very blustery weekend.
Okay, our Club Dawn is talking about her friend has schizophrenia, smoking too much skunk. Yeah, of course, this is psychosis and things is problematic, really.
But to me,
Matsumi. Oh, yeah, Matsumi's here. Good to see you, Matsumi.
Yes. Oh,
Perfect.
Joe. Hello, Joe.
Joanna's here. So if you guys want to chime in, say hello. We'll hello to you back, which is always nice. See the names. Gregor's here too. At the top, he's asking if negative entities, negative emotions are seen in a different way. Well, entities being like a separate entity, and the negative emotion is what they kind of drive, I guess, really. So I think, Gregor, from my perspective, they are two separate things. And the entity is an entity of its own self with its own conscious awareness. And of course, we can talk about different entities being demonic entities or other sorts of things. And there's a whole conversation around those things. But I mean, we talk about a demonic entity kind of covers the spectrum really of negative entities per se, although there are obviously lots of different species. And again, it's probably a different conversation. But they do obviously create the negative emotions, which is where the problem comes in for most people. Cool.
We are. We ready for Chen?
Yes, let's get Chen in.
Well, is Chen ready for us?
He's always ready. No doubt.
Suki's on. Evening, Suki.
Hi, Suki. Good to see you. Okay, you can see we're sat very closely together in a very small
Yeah, he's
room.
going to make me very hot in a minute.
Oh, Suki's
Probably shouldn't have worn a sweater.
Suki's sat in this very chair.
Suki has sat in this chair,
Suki
yeah.
knows how close together we are. Cool. Okay, let's get Chen to come in, and I'll catch you folks in a moment. Good day to you all.
Evening.
Good day, my dear.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
Perfectly well, thank you. And your good self?
Yes, fine, thank you.
Yes, this is very cosy.
It is. It is. You're going to make me very hot again, aren't you?
Yes, I can already
Put a
feel
fan in.
temperature starting to elevate.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, I probably shouldn't have worn a wool sweater, but never mind.
Well, you can change your outer clothing should you require.
Yeah. If I disappear, you'll notice because I'm really, really hot.
Yes, and you may see perspiration upon my forehead.
Yes. Yes. Oh. Well, we, as you know, have changed things around slightly. So to combine our Q&A with Monday evening seemed like a sensible thing to do, really. We were going to do the Q&A on the last Thursday of the month. And Andy came home from the office that evening. Wasn't actually feeling that well. But it was the only evening that week that we actually could allocate time for. So after we'd had dinner, we lit the fire. Andy sat down and he fell asleep. He was just very tired and not feeling great. So I didn't like to wake him. So we had a little chat about it. Thought we might do it the following week. Excuse me. And then came up with the idea of amalgamating Mondays.
Yes, what a wonderful idea. And of course, we must acknowledge, and I do acknowledge too, that you do work very hard because, of course, there are two jobs effectively. The young Andrew is balancing together with,
Yes.
of course, Jonathan too. So there is this work.
And Ruth.
And, of course, Ruth. And then we have the
Yep.
Spirit Release Academy, which is a huge undertaking. I think we must remember to try and build a global organization trying to connect the right spiritual people behind the scenes to do this instrumental work is a huge requirement, really.
Yes.
And of course, they have done very well. But this does mean, of course, that there is continual attention required, not to mention the financial aspects of things too, to run a corporation. There are a lot of moving cogs.
Yes.
And of course, at times, even young Andrew finds that the energy seems to have disappeared.
He does very well.
Yes.
Now he does keep up sometimes. But,
Yes. Well, he's very lucky. He has me behind him.
yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, we all are, actually. We
Yes,
all
well,
are.
thank you, my dear. That's very kind of you.
So we thought in changing the format of this evening or the Monday evenings, we could ask you to just give a little bit of advice or anything that you might want to give a little wisdom about before we start the Q&A. How does that sound?
Yes, perfect.
Of course, you already know, I'm sure.
Well, I tried to pretend not.
try to pretend you're surprised.
Yes, and look surprised. If I could open my eyes, I'd try to look surprised. Of course,
don't.
we're not. No, I know you weren't very harmonised last time we did this, my dear, were you?
Well, it's hard. It's hard because when I see you as Chen now, but if you open your eyes, I would be looking into the eyes of Andy, wouldn't I? So it's too strange.
Yes, and of course, when someone is in full trance, of course, there is another spiritual energy possessing the body effectively. And of course, this changes the eye dilation and colour. So things don't look the same.
No, it was quite...
And it's quite unnerving.
Yes.
And I think it's fine, my dear, to acknowledge that this is the case.
Okay.
And also, of course, it does keep boundary separation between myself as a different spiritual entity using the physicality of young Andrew, and of course his spiritual incorporation into his own body when he is in too.
Yeah.
And of course that works for you much better. Otherwise, these two things can become slightly out of phase, mentally, of course.
Yeah, we don't want that, do we?
No, I mean, it might be, my dear, that you prefer me to him. Which would be...
You wouldn't want to come back, would you?
Of course not.
Life? No.
No. I quite like using this body for a very short period of time.
Yes.
And then I go back to being free.
Yes. And doing your really important work behind the scenes.
Yes.
So behind the scenes, through the veil.
Different vibratory frequency really is the case. But yes, there's lots of things happening.
I'm sure. So what would you like to have a little chat before... Got a few questions. It won't be as long as... Oh my goodness, you might just be about to hear some Christmas carols.
It's a party, my dear.
Well, it's a tractor and trailer trying to get around the close with Santa on the back.
Oh, wonderful.
So the dog's just about to go mad because they will knock on the door for some money.
Well, it makes things interesting from a podcast perspective. And of course, these are live podcasts, which is good.
Because so it's a live podcast.
It shows it's live, yes. And I think that would be a very interesting topic of conversation because, of course, at the moment, we're all very aware. It is quite loud, of course. So hopefully everyone can hear me. At the moment, basically, what is happening on planet Earth? There's a huge lot of turmoil that everyone, I'm sure, has noticed. So there's energetic changes coming in from the solar system. And then, of course, we have lots of turmoil happening in most countries, of course. So the negative side that we are here to alleviate and change by changing the vibration, raising the vibration, pushing the negative side back is what we're all here to do. And I think we could probably agree collectively that all of us that are on this podcast and those that listen in catch-up mode have a deep desire to make a change.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean that you run to the front like some army recall per se. Everyone changes everything by changing their thoughts. And this is instrumental, really, on the spiritual path. So your thoughts, the thoughts that you have, the thoughts that you hold, dictates the vibration that you attain. And we know that when we, as you just said, my dear, when we attain spiritual sovereignty, we become ourselves.
Yes.
We hold our own vibration. We hold our own frequency. So rather like a balloon, if you think about a young child holding a balloon, that balloon cannot rise because the child is holding the piece of string that's attached to its wrist. So if we want the balloon to rise, the string needs to be elongated or let go of altogether. So the string and the child in this scenario would be other energies that attach to our field that hold our vibration down. And of course, those energies can be attachments, so spiritual attachments, discarnate spiritual entity attachments, but also, of course, your pain and your trauma holds your vibration down. And everyone goes through pain. Everyone has trauma. But of course, most people don't look or think about the traumas or the pain they've been through in a way that's positive. And of course, they're not able to release them. It's very difficult to look at the perpetrator, someone that's done you ill will or has done negative things to you. You've experienced very negative emotional experiences, to forgive that person. But forgiveness is the way to release the energy. And when you can release the energy, your vibration comes up. And then you start to move into a different space. You attract new people, new experiences. And this, of course, is why it's fundamental for people that are on their spiritual path. So do the inner work first. Trying to save the world won't happen running to the front of some big protest with a banner, because it's a waste of time and energy. So you may be protesting but probably protesting to fulfill your own ego.
I was going to say, but that in itself can be quite negative anyway, can't
Yes,
it?
of course, it creates anger.
Yeah.
It creates rage.
Yes.
So it pushes your vibration down, and those people that protest, most of them have a lower vibration from going to these protests because their vibrations come down.
They're so angry.
Yes. So again, just thinking about what's triggering you. If you go to a protest and you sit and you smile and you play music and you laugh and you enjoy yourself during the day, that's a very different picture to someone who's at a protest, holding a board, protesting against something or another, but is in anger.
Yes.
And this is the key. Everything on this planet is aligned with your vibrational frequency. So for you to do the work that you're here to do, you have to work on yourself first. You have to find and allow that energy to be cleared and removed from your field. And then you need to make sure that you move into spiritual sovereignty. And both those things should become easy. These things should be taught to children because they're very simple techniques. They're not difficult to do. You don't need to spend a fortune on therapy for weeks and weeks and weeks to do these things. You just need to be able to identify where the areas and the triggers are for you from your experiences and let them go. Does that make sense, my dear?
Yes, it does. Yes, thank you. If anybody's got any questions about that, please feel free to put them in the chat. Before we get a few questions going, or whilst we've got a few questions going, we have got about 15-20 minutes, so we'll do a few questions.
I will be very quick.
That might be a first.
Yes, it would be. I might need to take that as a challenge.
No, nobody minds you chatting. That's what you're here for, isn't it?
Yes,
to
of
teach
course.
us.
Yes, and those wouldn't really provide much information.
No, absolutely not. No, we need to learn a little more than that from you. So I put together, I've got a couple of friends, Kay and Mary, who would like to know what you make of narcissism. I wonder what Chen makes of narcissists. Were they around in his time? Have they always been around? I'm not sure if you can stop it once you've committed your first crime against a vulnerable other. So does it become addictive, or is it just another test for the soul?
Yes, very interesting questions. And there's quite a few questions baked into that one question.
There is.
So narcissism, really, and narcissistic people are generally born different, effectively.
Are they? I thought that was psychopathy.
Yes, psychopathy.
Is it the same?
Yes.
Okay.
So narcissistic people, but they've normally been through trauma. So trauma is, certainly in early childhood, is what kind of puts a person probably on a narcissistic path. And again, generally, if you think about what a narcissistic personality would do, it's about control primarily. So they have lost control generally in their early days, effectively probably in childhood to an adult that's done some probably bad things to them, and they haven't been able to manage and control and protect themselves. And then, of course, that basically fuses a lot of hatred and rage and negativity into the personality. And then they want other people to experience what they experienced. And of course, that becomes highly addictive, almost like a drug, really.
Yes.
And that effectively is the problem. And of course, the more they control people and it gives them that sense of power, then that moves from relationship to relationship. And of course, narcissistic people are generally looking for people that they can control, people that won't fight against them.
Yes.
So this is reversal of their experience of their early childhood. So I would imagine if you sat 50 narcissistic people down and actually got to the bottom of what happened in their childhood, you'd see the same patterns.
Okay.
You'd seen a lot of pain, a lot of rage, a lot of anger, but lack of control.
So when you say narcissists are born with narcissism, is it right that they actually come into this world born and with narcissism?
They can have those attributes. Yeah. So the attributes.
So they're always going to be vulnerable to becoming narcissist.
Yes.
If
so the same thing could happen to you that happens to someone else.
Yes.
But if you haven't got those traits, then you wouldn't go that way.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So they're born with a trait. Whereas psychopaths are born as psychopaths, aren't they?
They're almost like a different species.
Yes. Yeah. What species are they?
Psychopath.
Thank you. Right. Okay. That answers that. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jen.
That was quite funny, my dear.
Yes, it was.
I do like to have a joke.
Okay. Joanna Clark. Hi, Joe. I know you're on the call. Once we've experienced entities, are we more susceptible to getting them again and again? As in, do we become their target?
Entities are working on vibrational frequency, and of course, they're parasitic by nature. So not necessarily, if you've had most people have entity problems, they just don't know they have them. So when you've had an entity attachment problem, you've probably had a discarnate spiritual attachment problem too, because they do come together generally. But of course, when you then learn to reinforce your protective field, change your vibration, hold your vibration at a different frequency, then of course you push away these negative parasitic energies effectively. So it's not that when you've had them, you're more vulnerable. But of course, certain people, and I know that this particular person is highly intuitive and highly telepathic. And of course, it's easier for entities to try to connect and manipulate them because they're already effectively receiving the telepathic conversations. People that are closed down, that have telepathy turned off, obviously are receiving the same information, but they're not reacting or hearing it. So mediums obviously are more at risk because they're already partly open. And this is where they need to learn how to protect their own field and their own energies.
So of course it's difficult, isn't it? Because if they're used to speaking to their own guides, as a medium or a spirit, coming through, they can pretend to be something else, can't they?
Yes, and they masquerade, of course, and pretend they're something positive when they're not, generally. And of course, this is the problem. And this is where, obviously, we perform these spiritual interventions by clearing these entities from people's fields. And of course, they're very clever. So you're dealing with energies that can mimic your own thoughts. And most people don't know their own thought from external entity thought process. And that's how these parasitic entities work, of course. They pretend to be you, but of course they take you down a negative path.
Of course, not to begin with.
No,
but
and that's why they're so dangerous, really.
They are. Yes, Oh, okay. Hope that explains a bit, Joe. Thank you for your question. Lisa Barker, hello. I would like to ask Chen, when I speak or request his assistance, does he hear me? Also, is there an acupuncture pressure point that helps with anxiety? So two questions.
Interesting. So when anyone connects or calls from myself, obviously I hear it's a vibratory frequency. So if you're if you think of yourself in a room and someone calls your name, you hear the voice, you hear the sound. So we're obviously, we don't have ears, so we're not hearing, but we're connecting to energy. So when someone thinks Chen or Archangel Michael or a different energy, of course you are connecting to those energies. And this is why you have to be very careful when people start to play with occult tools like Ouija boards and things, and start trying to name energies and entities or demonic entities. The minute you think their name, you send them a stream of energy, you connect to them. And this is part of the reason why, my dear, as you know, with the Spirit Release Academy, we stopped the mediums connecting to the clients, and the guide did the intervention. So the medium had no energetic connection with a client that probably had some sort of entity attachment.
Yes. Okay. So the answer to does Chen hear you when you call for him? The answer is yes.
Yes.
Well, not hear you with his ears, but yes, he recognises his calling.
If you ask for help, we will be there.
Yeah,
basically.
Lovely.
And the acupuncture point, of course, is the wrist, right there, because that's where the blood is flowing
closest,
and that's why, of course, the heartbeat is taken in these places too.
Yes. Excuse me, everybody.
That's the
Andy's phone.
Technology. It's very good.
That's all right. We're going to squish in one more.
Yes, let's squish one more in.
Okay. Veronica, our friend Veronica in Chippenham. Just a question for our dear Chen. Who are the Pleiadians? Are they part of the collective of the Council of Light? Are they here with other higher beings as a collective of the family of light to help and heal this beautiful planet and raise its vibration? Or maybe are they here as watchers? Love and light, Veronica.
Yes, very interesting question. And of course, for these sorts of questions, there is no real correct answer. All of those answers are correct because we're talking about another species And the Pleiadians is a collective word. It's a
Like
collection,
humans.
like humans. So it'd be
Yeah.
like saying, are humans good or bad, or can humans swim, or do they walk on the planet? They do all of those things.
Mm.
So the Pleiadians are higher beings of higher energy. They are part of all of the councils, and they're very connected to the intentions of planet Earth. We have Pleiadians in our team. They're very educated. They're a long way off, really, but effectively they are your brothers and sisters. They're part of you as humans. So they have a very strong pull to helping and moving things in a positive way. So they are here to provide and perform intervention, but of course they have to align with spiritual rules, like everything. So there are lots of energies around planet Earth that are watching what's happening. So effectively it's almost like humans are effectively the cows in a field, walking around in different parts of the field with no real observation that around the outside the farmer is farming and creating food and growing crops and doing all sorts of things. So whilst you're consensually in the planet having your human experience, around the outside in different vibratory frequencies, there are thousands of other entities and species all watching, helping, not helping. We know that there are many negative entities that are obviously controlling things from behind the scenes, and they have been doing that since the inception of the human being. But of course, this is why things are so dramatically changing now, because the planet's vibration is changing. And this is why you're seeing such change. And people, of course, are fearful. And the control system will try and push the narrative that everything is very fearful and negative. Because
They've always done that.
Yes, they're trying to hold things down, whilst we as elective are trying to push things up. So, and this is, of course, is why the light is now being shined in some very dark areas, and people are having to hear about some very dark things that have been happening. These things have been happening forever with children, with control, with secret organizations. Everything's been going on for a long, long time, just that now more people understand what's happening and start to see it. And of course, that in itself means that there is conscious awareness change. If you don't know about something, you can't think about it.
Yes, well, it's being called out more, isn't it?
Yes, and of course, there are groups of people here, and they've incarnated to be part of the change in whatever way that happens to be. So, young Andrew said to me some time ago, he was saying, well, we ought to be going to some protest to protest against certain things. And I said to him, that's not your role. You're not here to do that. You're here to do your job. And your job is working with us doing this work. Other people have incarnated. They're the frontline people to be at protest and do that sort of thing. So everyone is basically fulfilling their role in the way that they came in to do. So if you don't feel pulled to do something, even though you may align with the intention of what you see happening, then stay in your swim lane.
It's something we talk about a lot these days, isn't it? Staying in swim lanes.
I like the swim lane terminology.
Do you?
Because it's very simple. It's a straight line, and there are lots of swim lanes.
Yeah, and there's barriers.
People are going up and down.
Yes.
So you could be going up while someone else is coming down.
Yeah.
So swim lane is very, I think, a very descriptive way to basically educate in the way that we do and the way we talk about things.
Okay, thank you. Just before we say good night, do you know Jerry? Have you worked with Jerry? Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Yes.
There we are.
Jerry Terry. No surprise.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay, that answers that. Thank you.
Yes.
We did wonder, didn't we, when we were talking about Jerry earlier? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Nothing happens by coincidence, my dear, of course. And of course, if you look at the work that he is doing, exactly the same swim lane as your swim lane.
Yeah.
And again, he has a very different audience. So lots of things are connecting behind the scenes, and we're trying to orchestrate as much as we can the global change that's required. And this is why I say doing this work is the best work in the world. It's the only job you can do that actually has any impact to anything.
That matters,
Yes, you can be a lawyer, a doctor, a civil servant, all sorts of jobs.
Yeah.
But you're not changing things for the future. This work of clearing negativity from this planet is instrumental for the whole species, and not just yours either, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, so thank you, Chen. One very last question: when you leave, could you leave Andy in a state of being able to breathe this week? Did you not realise last week?
What was the problem, my dear?
I don't know. It's something to do with frequency. He when he dropped back in, he was struggling to breathe. It took him. I was on the verge of racing up to make sure he was all right.
You should try to exercise.
Okay.
That's
Simple.
It's not my problem.
Oh, okay.
It's his physicality.
Yes.
I'm just using it. So when I give it to him back,
Yes.
then I pass
It's
it
up
back
to him to breathe.
Yes, of course.
Yes. Okay. Point taken.
Wait, do you have a question for you, my dear?
Oh, what?
How hot do you feel?
Oh, very, very hot.
I thought so. I can feel your heat.
Absolutely, boy. Can you?
Yes, I can feel you're in my field, so I can feel the heat emanating from you. Effectively, humans are batteries, of course. So it's like two batteries that are basically burning hot, effectively next to each other.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I don't think I need to light the fire this evening.
No, well, that's good. It's almost like exercise.
Yes. Yeah, maybe shed a few pounds.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you very much for letting Andy come back, and we will see you again next week, next Monday evening.
Yes, good.
7
I look
o'clock.
forward to it, my dear.
Yes, good. Thank you, Chen.
Well, I will say good day to all. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, as always, to come through and speak and provide my laughter.
Yes.
And we will look forward to next week.
Okay.
Good day.
Thank you, Chen. Bye. All right, can you breathe?
Yeah, I can breathe.
Can you feel the heat coming off?
I can feel a lot of heat. That's
good. I just asked Chen to make sure that when you came back in this time, he doesn't leave you in a state where you can't breathe. And he said, that's your fault. You need to exercise.
Oh, did he? Well, why do I get a chance to do that? There's not a lot of time for exercising, to be fair.
Very funny.
Cool. We've got Ruth in the house. That's always good.
Yes.
And Elaine.
Yes.
Hi, Elaine. Good to see you. Obviously, you've been here longer than me.
Diane Brody. Yeah.
Basically.
Yes.
All good.
Yes. Oh, we had the carol singer, the Christmas tractor and trailer coming around the close. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I think, could you all hear the music? Could you actually hear the music as the tractor was going around? I don't know if you could.
That's the fun of being live.
It felt very loud. It was very loud.
You never know what's going to happen.
No, that's the thing. I thought, well, the next thing, the dog would bark at them.
Did he bark?
No.
Oh,
No, oddly.
Perhaps Chen muzzled him. Like some muzzle thing.
Yes. Oh, Nadine's here too.
Nadine's here. Good to have you. So I think really, from our perspective, I'm assuming that we're kind of done really from that perspective.
Yeah, we're back again next week.
So today, just for those of you who just joined me, sort of covered this morning, yesterday evening, having a chat with Jerry Marzinsky, who's a psychiatric, retired psychiatric professional. So we're talking about hearing voices, schizophrenia, that kind of thing. And the video for that is now on YouTube. If you want to head over there, the link is in this chat. But again, if you go to our YouTube channel, you can obviously subscribe, follow us, and that link to that conversation's there, which is actually quite interesting. And we're going to try and collaborate more, basically, in the way that I kind of did with Terence back in the day. So quite exciting, really, from our perspective.
Yeah, sent an email earlier telling you to keep, I think it's January the 3rd free.
Okay, cool. That's good.
I was planning something.
And Jayne's been trying to control Chen for the last however long.
Oh,
half an hour.
Funny. Yeah, it makes us laugh.
Yeah, which is good. So I think we're done. Well, thanks for joining, folks. Obviously, this will be uploaded again to YouTube, Facebook, although Facebook delete things now, I think, after 4 weeks or something.
Yeah, they turn them into a reel or something. I'm not quite sure.
I don't know. Yeah, Facebook's always doing something different. But
yeah.
Everything's on our website. Everything's on our YouTube channel, basically. So if you're interested in what we're doing, like, subscribe, comment, do all the things you need to do on social media to actually see what we're doing. And hopefully we'll align again next week.
Yes.
Cool.
Nice to see you all.
Thanks, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye.